Well, howdy there, Internet students. It's Mr. Hermanson again. Hey, this is your 8.1 test retake prep if you want to retake that test. Um, so I'm going to do a problem and then you're going to practice a couple. And when you know how to do them all and you're done with this worksheet, you can send me that via email and I'll check it. And if it looks good, I'll get a new test to you. All right, so this is about probability. Now, when you do probabilities, you can write them three ways: a fraction, a decimal, or a percent. And fraction and ratio are really the same thing. So we have 100 blocks, so we're out of 100. We want to know the probability that it's a multiple of 5. So we have to do these numbers: 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. So actually we could just do 100 divided by 5 to figure that out, which is 20 out of 100. So we could write 20 out of 100. I always like to write those as a simplified fraction if I can. And to do that, I divide by the lowest common denominator, which is 20. And that gives me 1/5. Okay? And then that's the fraction. The decimal would I would get by dividing out that fraction. So 1 divided by 5 equals 0.2. And the percent would be that number, that fraction times 100. Right? Because we want to have 100 parts when we're doing a percent, and that would be 20. Okay? 20%. Okay, what is probability that it's even number? You guys, every other number is even. Be careful though. I mean, if you have an even number of blocks, then yes, every other number is even, so half of them will be even, 50 out of 100. If let's say we just had 3 blocks, 1, 2, and 3, well then there's only 1 even and 2 odds. So if there's an odd number, you got to be careful, like in this problem here. But half of them should be even if it's an even number of numbers. And you guys all know that half is the same as 0.5 when you divide it, and 0.5 is the same as 50%. Okay, what is the probability the block is 0? Since 0 is not one of the numbers from 1 to 100, it's 0 out of 100. Which is the decimal for that, of course, is 0, which is 0%. All right, moving on. Number 4 here. The spinner is spun 5 times in a row and landed on 6 every time. So for some reason, the spinner seems to keep landing on 6. Either that or we're just really lucky. What is the probability of landing on 6 the next spin? Well, this spin is all by itself, really. It doesn't matter what we spun on the last 5 times. It's independent. So there is the same chance of landing on 6 every time you spin this spinner. All right? And that would be 1 out of, there's 1 space with a 6 in it, out of 8 spaces. So, and we say that that the events are independent of each other. Because what you did on the time before will not affect your next outcome. Okay? All right, you can do a couple problems there. On this one, we're going to learn how to make a game fair. So we analyzed these outcomes, and we found that outcome A, if you have outcome A, you will win 1 out of every 10 on average. Outcome B is 3 out of every 10. Outcome 4 is 4 out of every 10. So I'm just going to write here, this is how many wins you'll have. 1 out of every 10. So these are all out of 10. 3, 4, and 2. Okay. Now what you want to do is find the lowest common multiple of all these numbers. The way I do it is I take the biggest number, which is 4, and I keep writing out multiples of 4 until I find one that all the other numbers go into. So I think it's this one. 3 goes into 12, right? 2 goes into 12, obviously. 1 goes into every number. So we're going to use 12 for our total points. So let's put that there. And we want everybody to get the same number of total points. So for Team A to get 12 total points with their 1 win, we have to multiply by 12. For Team B, we have to multiply by 4 to get that 12 total. For Team C, we have to multiply by 3, and for Team D, we have to multiply by 6 to get that 12 total. All right, you can try a couple of those. On this problem, you are learning how to figure out your total number of choices. Okay, so we're going to make a breakfast out of, we're going to pick one of these 4 for our main choice. We're going to pick one of these 3 for our meat. We're going to have some fruit. We have 2 choices of fruit. And for drink, we have 3 choices. Now, to get the total number of possibilities, all you have to do, this is the counting principle, is multiply those choices. So 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is 24, times 3 is 72 different breakfasts we could order. Wow, we could go there 72 days in a row and not eat exactly the same thing. All right. On this one, we're just going to learn how to draw a organized list or counting tree to figure out who our choices are here. So Cinderella danced 3 times at the ball, and these were her choices. The first song she danced, she had those 3 choices. The second song, those 3 choices. The third, those 3 choices. When we make our tree, we should have 3 times 3 times 3 choices, or 27 choices. So now when you make the tree, though, you can see exactly what those individual choices are. Since I have more room horizontally, I'm going to put Pinocchio here. I'm just going to abbreviate that pin. Then I'll put the king. And then I'll put Garkin. Not sure if I spelled that right. But now for song 2, we have 3 choices. Make your choices pretty wide because we have to do one more after this for our last song. And that's why it's called a tree. These are the branches. Okay, so for second song, we got Doc, Grumpy, and Donkey. Since I have Garcon, I better put Grumpy. GR. We could have done GA for Garcon and GR for Grumpy. Okay, so Doc, Donk is Donkey, and GR is Grumpy. Doc, Grumpy, Donkey. Okay, now we need 3 coming from each of these. Hopefully I can fit them all. All right, and our last choices are the prince. I'm running out of room, so I'm going to put P for prince. Shrek and the Beast. Prince, Shrek, and Beast. Prince, Shrek, and Beast. And you should have 27 when you're done here. And then I'll show you how you to find a choice, I'll use my highlighter here just to show one of the choices. So you would go like this with donkey and with the beast. Okay, that'd be one choice. Garcon, donkey, and Shrek would be another. Garcon, donkey, and the prince would be another. All right. All right, so you're going to make a tree diagram. Practice that a couple times. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to use a tree diagram to figure out some probabilities. So you go to a deli and these are your choices. You have 3 choices of bread: white bread, whole grain, and rye. You have, you can pick either turkey or ham for your meat, and for your cheese, you can have Swiss cheese, cheddar cheese, or no cheese. So, so the total number of probabilities, you can actually count them at the end of the tree here if you want. But you could also do it this way. You could just, you know, you have 3 breads in this line. 3 breads. I like that color. Then you have 2 meats, and then you have 3 choices for cheeses. So 3 times 2 times 3 is out of 18 when you're doing your probability. Now, what is the probability that the sandwich is on whole grain bread? Okay, so whole grain bread are all of these ones in the middle here, all these choices in the middle. I'll highlight them for you. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight the end of them. These are all the ones with whole grain. So there are 6 choices out of 18. Now, 6 out of 18 is the same as 1/3, which is really, out of these 3 choices, you have one way of getting whole grain. So you could just do it that way, say 1/3. So what is the probability the sandwich will be turkey on rye? Turkey on rye, so we're going to go to the rye bread. That's right here, down at the bottom here. I'll highlight that with a different color highlighter. So we got rye bread, and then we need turkey, and there are 3 of those options because we want turkey on rye. So 3 out of 18. Which, if we simplify that, that's 1 out of every 6. Okay? Now, you could have figured that out of 6 because there's 3 breads to choose from, 2 of those to choose from. So to get the rye bread with turkey, it's 1 out of those. 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, what is the probability the sandwich will have cheese on it? I'll highlight all those with a different color. Let's pick this one here. So cheese is always the first 2 of the last options. So are you guys keeping track here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. The other way you can do it is take the no cheese ones, which you know there were 6 of those, and subtract those from the 18, which gives you 12. So there's 12 out of 18 possibilities. We're going to divide both those by 6, and that gives us 2/3. Okay, 2 out of 3. And that kind of makes sense because cheese is 2 out of these 3 options for cheeses, right? So that's another way to look at that. All right, so go ahead and finish that up and send it off to me, and then hopefully we'll get that test to you soon. Good luck.